Welcome to Employee Connect. In this video, you'll learn how to set up and customize employment agreements for staff in the system. So all you'll need to do is make sure that you're logged in with admin privileges, and then in the top menu, go to HR, and then People. In the side menu, you'll need to click on Employment, and then Agreement. This page will show you all of your current staff members in the system and a high-level overview of their employment agreement data. Do note the green dot in the record column means that they do have an employment agreement, and if it were red, it means that they do not have an employment agreement. The active column with the little icon of the person, if it's green, means that they're currently enabled to the system, usually meaning that they're currently employed. And if it's red, it usually means that they have no access to the system, usually meaning that they're terminated staff. So to customize someone's employment agreement, all you'll need to do is click on the edit icon, or if they don't have a current employment agreement, that won't appear and you'll need to click on the plus icon. Let's go through and customize an employment agreement for someone now. So let's pick Harry and click on the edit icon. The page will reload and you'll have multiple tabs that you can fill in all of the information for their agreement. Before we start though, do notice that up the top under employment, we've got quite a bit of details already. Now, depending on how you've configured your system, a lot of the details that you might need to put into the employment agreement don't actually need to be done because they've already been populated through position assignment. For example, you can see here that we can see Harry's position, the company that he works for, his manager, and his person ID, etc. These are things that have all come through the position assignment, so in the employment agreement, there's no need to do that again. There's nothing wrong with doing so, it just means that you'd kind of be duplicating data. So let's go through the tabs one by one. So the first one is organisation. Now again, we've got here company, location, organisation, unit, position, and job. There's no need to define any of this per se, again, because it's all defined through the position assignment. All that I would recommend is doing the position. So select it from the drop-down. And that's pretty much everything that you need to do on this tab, to be honest with you, if you've done position assignment. The next thing that you'll need to navigate to is dates. There's multiple date fields here, including their hire date or rehire date if it's applicable, their probation date, so that is when they finish their probation, things like continuous service, contracting start and end dates. This will be applicable if the person was a fixed term contractor, dates for retirement, and their age. So all you'll need to do is use the date picker and go through and do all of that. So as an example, let's fill this one out now. Again, if you're hiring someone who's a permanent staff member, there's probably no need to fill in the contractor start and end dates. The next tab that we'll need to go to is the groups. This is probably the most important part of the information in filling out the employment agreement. So let's go through it now from top to bottom. First, you'll need to start with your employment group. Now do note that all of the groups should have already been set up in the system, and if you haven't done that, we would recommend setting up all of your groups and roles in the system before you actually fill out people's employment agreements. And again, all you'll need to do is select them from the drop-down. So for the employment group, we're going to put Harry in standard full-time. For the employment type, I'm just going to say employment. For the work type, full-time. If you're employing someone under an award, Employee Connect has lots and lots of awards built in, but do note that you can liaise with us and get your own custom award put in if you'd like. Next, you'll need to do employee overrides. So this includes things like the pay group and the public holidays, etc. So for the pay group, we're going to add Harry to the monthly employees. For his public holiday group, New South Wales. We're not going to worry about leave accrual scheme or pay packages, so you can do this if you'd like. The next thing you'll have is work hours and work period. Now do note that they're tied in together. So if we set, for example, the work period to be daily, then you would enter the default amount of hours that this employee works per day, versus if you did it per week or fortnight, etc., that number would change. So just do note of that. So we've got 7.6 in there now. The work FTE, again, is referring to the full-time equivalent allocation. So you're going to say that Harry is a full-time employee, so it's 1.0. If someone worked only 4 days out of 5, then you'd probably put them as 0.8, etc. And then you'll need the work pattern, and this is for the work group. So we're going to select this here now as full-time. Now, one thing that we do want to cover again is the groups really quickly. So the employment group will define the type of employment that this employee is hired under. The pay group will define how frequently that person should be paid in the system. You've also then got the public holiday group, which will define when someone's applying for leave, which days are not applicable because of public holidays. Again, things like these are automated in Employee Connect. And of course the work group as well. Now the work group will define which group that employee is a part of for leave applications. So it knows in the system that if they don't work Saturday and Sunday, it won't deduct those days from someone when they apply for multiple weeks off in a row. So it's really important that you get your employment groups, your pay groups, and your work groups defined within the employment agreement. Next, you'll need to go to the Detail tab. This is really handy, and what you can do is you can add an attachment here if you'd like. Just click Choose from the file, and then follow the prompts from your computer's Explorer. This is a really good example of where you could manually upload maybe a PDF file of someone's employment agreement if you'd like. And you've also got a blank text box where you can type in anything that you'd like as well. Finally, we've got the Payroll tab. In here you can insert payroll data. Again, this isn't going to change anything in the system, it's just purely informational if you'd like. For example, a payroll ID might be really helpful for payroll users of the system, so they can refer to the payroll ID rather than the person ID in Employee Connect, which may not be the same. And last but not least, up here where it says employment data start date, that is the date that you would put in here for the most recent employment agreement start date. Now do note if we go back to the dates here, most people will normally have their hire date and the employment data start date being the same, but do note that someone can have their employment agreement updated, and if this was the case, then this is where this field would change. So if this is the instance, we're going to keep this the same. Go back to that. And when you're done, you just click Save. So long as you've done everything correctly, Employee Connect will say that your changes have been saved successfully. Now, one extra thing that we want to show you is if you use the breadcrumbs up the top to go back to Agreement, it's going to take us back to the list with all of the high-level overview of all of the staff members' employment agreements. Now you can see here that Harry's, a lot of these things have come through because we've defined them, which is fantastic. But do note that if someone's details ever changed and you wanted to issue them a new employment agreement with new details, but you didn't want to lose all of the historical data, rather than editing the employment agreement, we would recommend using the copy function. And what this will do is it will create a new line item for Harry in his employment agreement. It's really handy, so if people's employment agreements change, you can have multiple line items for the history of all of the different agreements that they had. And again, all you would need to do is go through and fill out all of the details like we did previously. And that's how easy it is to set up and customize employment agreements for staff in Employee Connect.